Welcome everybody, I'm Paul, I'm the Creative Director at Outlier.
And I'm Bernard, I am the Marketing Manager.
And we're going to have a look at how Mars Attacks has evolved through the various builds, going through the very first playable at Gamescom all the way through to the latest demo, which is just coming out now. So I'm excited to get stuck in. I haven't seen this in quite a long time, this version, so I'm kind of curious as to what we'll find. So in front of me I have the original first playable build from Gamescom when we announced the game in August of 2024. And I haven't been in this build for, well over 6 months now, so I'll be really interested to see how the game has changed and what I've forgotten from the original build. But if I remember rightly, as soon as we start the tutorial, then one of the biggest differences is when we first announced the game, we were really conscious about people maybe mistaking it for different types of games, especially with the Mars Attacks IP. A lot of people would assume that's like a combat-based game. So we actually start off with rides. So you start with building a Ferris wheel, and over the course of development, actually realize that this is probably not the best flow because the game really isn't about the rides. The game is much more around imprisoning humans in these enclosures and dealing with them, which we're going to get to in a bit. So this acquisitions process has completely changed in the latest demo. So originally you were just selecting a human and placing them within the enclosure. So at this point, really the focus was getting something that worked and something that was polished. The systems in a part builder are so complex relative to other types of games that it actually takes a huge amount of time just to get the kind of base level that people expect from games like this. So the building mechanics, the AI of the characters, the different types of rides, even like the power utilities and stuff.
And yeah, lots of placeholder stuff in this one still.
And luckily, people seem to enjoy it. It actually went down really well at Gamescom. It's actually a relatively linear experience, this as well, compared to the more freeform approach that we have now. But within a couple of steps, we've completed the tutorial, and now it's really about expanding the park and building some rides. So if we go into research, this is probably the biggest area that's actually had multiple overhauls over the course of the different versions that we have. So this is the original research panel where you select what you want to research, so in this case the Helto Skelto, and then start research, and puts it research in progress. And I think it'll just complete over time, and that's basically it. That's how you research things. Okay, so we've got it researched. So if I go to, I'm even missing like all the notifications in the UI that you get now to tell you that things have completed and that you can go to different menus and put them in. The intention of this build specifically was around people experiencing it in Gamescom, and when you're at a festival like that, then the playtime needs to be really, really short and condensed. You don't want people sitting for half an hour, 40 minutes, even though that did happen even with this build.
Yeah, I see what you mean there about like it's very rides focused right from the start. It's like here, build 3 rides. Kind of tells you like, oh, this is a game that's very much going to be focused around doing this the whole time, building more and more rides.
Exactly. So it kind of feels like a game that is expanding through these rides. And in order to purchase the rides, it's similar to other park builders. You either unlock them, research them, or just buy them, and then they're there available for you to use. But until this point here, which is the end of the Gamescom demo, we artificially trigger a human escape. Then there hasn't really been that much focus on the human. So it's all been about building rides and some of the amenities for guests, and it's only now that the human is escaping and going to destroy things. Interestingly, in this very early build, we have the human escaping and he'll go and attack things, but the guests do nothing. The guests aren't even aware that he's there. This was kind of just to kind of wrap the demo up and show people that, okay, this is the direction that it's going, that you'll have to deal with human escapes and the chaos that they can cause.
Is there any way to stop a human in this version? Is there any security or anything? No. Just once they escape, that's it.
That's it. We're just drawing a line under the demo for Gamescom. Keep it short and sweet. You can see we've got the choke slam animation in as a priority. So the human is like killing guests.
Yeah, they're not. The rest of them aren't reacting at all. They're just hanging out, going about their business.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. Not a care in the world that this giant human is chasing them and choke slamming them into the ground here. So that came later. That was a part of the AI expansion at a later build. So maybe we can dive into some of those and see the difference.
Before we move on, a quick word from today's sponsor, Redx. Are you still stuck in a Type 1 civilization where your deliveries are limited by a linear understanding of time? No problem, Redx is not bound by the limitations of time or space. Just this morning I was having my breakfast on Earth, and now I'm on Mars with no memory of how I got here. It really is that easy. For viewers of the channel, Redx has a special offer: 2 human abductions for the price of 1. That way you've got twice the chance of a human arriving without any significant deformities. Don't delay, ship your packages with Redx today. And now, back to the video.
All right, so skipping ahead probably 3 or 4 months, this is the first alpha playtest. So this is, if Gamescom was just a really short experience to give people a little taste throughout the show, this is the first time that we got a wider community of players to join and give feedback. I think one of the big changes of this version was a little bit more like prompts for players, just make it a little bit easier to pass information and understand. So for example, this highlighting arrow pointing to stuff that you should click is integrated into the world as well, rather than just a UI, which it was originally.
Now we got scientists.
Yeah, and we now have scientists. So this is a new feature for research. You have to hire a scientist, place them in the enclosure, and then assign them to an observation post. So this flow is similar to what we have in the game today, but in this version, the scientist is passively generating research data as they are working within the observation post. One thing that we noticed in Gamescom is people in tutorials tend to skip forward quite a lot. So the other element that we changed on this is changed around the order a little bit so it wasn't so linear. So for example, while you are researching something up here, you can open the park, you can build up different types of enclosures and amenities for guests and things like that. Acquiring humans at this stage of the game is relatively simple, just a couple of clicks to acquire humans. Keep human happiness above 80%. So for that, I have to build them some amenities. So they've got food, let's give them something to drink, something interesting to play with, and some rest. That should do it. Big element that we hadn't got in place at this stage. I'm just building a very random enclosure, by the way, just dropping stuff randomly. The other thing that we haven't got at this stage is gates in the walls. So you can build bushes and decorations and things that need to be maintained by a janitor, but the janitor has no way of getting to it unless you drop the janitor in the enclosure itself.
Yeah, I think that was one that really stood out, in that if you build a load of trees in an enclosure, they'll just all die. And you have a disclosure full of dead trees, and it's just really obvious.
This is not easy. I've forgotten the... Okay, so beauty is working its way up. Rest, he's happy enough. Thirsty's got everything. Okay, there we go. So research the Alto and open 3 unique rides. So in this tutorial, relative to the previous one, you can see we added the focus a little bit more onto humans, so you've actually got to kind of make them happy rather than just building rides, but there's still a heavy focus on installing the different rides. During the alpha stage, the hiring panel is also relatively basic, so we have these 1 to 5 star staff ratings in the middle here, but they don't actually do anything, which was quite funny watching people play the game and then agonize over whether they should get the 3 star or the 1 star. So they're literally identical, they just cost different amounts, and there wasn't really any nuance to different staff members, so in later versions we'll see how that changes quite significantly.
They also all have joke names in this one. Still.
Oh yeah. But the joke names didn't disappear entirely, so we've still got those in, but only on rare occasions rather than everyone having a Chris Martian and Dean Martian, Martian Scorsese, and sometimes George R.R. Martian, which is my favourite. That was actually a suggestion from our community of players, so that was a really good thing that we could build into the game, and was based on player feedback. I just realised I completely forgot to build windows, so these demons are wandering around with no Martians to observe them. And there was, at this stage, gates as well, but the gates literally do nothing, they just act exactly like a wall. So let's see what we can do to build out some more stuff. So we've got decent amount of options in the research tree, but I think we locked everything past a certain point. So you can start to see it's getting populated, but there's still a lot of emptiness and kind of placeholder here as well. So one of the other things that we had in the alpha that we were experimenting with is multiple levels. So moving between different types of environments and different challenges for the Martians. Again, relatively simplistic, just to kind of get the feel of this and test, how it worked and the kind of vibes of the longer form gameplay. I haven't played this level, I think, this year, so I actually have to go back and remember what was in it. Okay, so hire a janitor. That's easily done. Build 3 types of store. Okay. I've also just noticed in the alpha then there's a lot of missing features, lorem ipsum text, no graphs, tracking profitability and things like that. So the financial management system is another one which, following the alpha, had a huge makeover to actually give players the flexibility to run the park how they want to.
Yeah, so I mean, yeah, even at this stage, where there wasn't all that much in, there was still a lot of ways that you could customize a park, make it look, add your own spin on it. Yeah, that's the best bit of the alpha, really, is watching people expand upon the ideas and create something themselves. Tier 1 ride, so maybe let's go Stairway to Heaving. This is actually one of my favourite rides, probably because it's one of the grossest. This was Sammy, our art director, had this idea for building rides based on human body parts or human functions. So giant toe is pretty gross, but a giant vomiting human where you ride down the streams of his vomit is I cannot take credit for that idea, but definitely want to be proud of for Sammy. But yeah, I think that that design decision to lean into the human anatomy in the rides also kind of points to the fact that this is a human themed park and the rides are just a feature of that.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that was a really critical turning point, actually, is not only shifting from the rides to the humans, but actually making the humans critical to the rides. So at this stage, you research on humans and you gain points through the scientists just kind of passively in the observation post, but the rides themselves are relatively separate from humans. So this giant toe, you can research it, unlock it, whereas in future builds, you actually make the toe from a human. So you have to have the human in the first place in order to get his toe, which also makes them somewhat more sinister as well, which I love. Well, I think that's a good place maybe to leave it for the alpha, because we can skip forward to the first version of the demo and have a look how that differs from other versions of the game as well. Alright, so now we're going to look at the first version of the public demo. So the alpha was just to give players a sense of the game so that they can provide feedback, and then we really adapted the roadmap. And there were 2 big bits of feedback. There's a load of kind of quality of life, balancing, all that kind of things that we also implemented, but 2 big areas that we really wanted to focus on based on the people's feedback from the alpha. And the first one was differentiating the game, and the second one was adding complexity. So first of all, I start by building a human enclosure, and that really sets the expectation that the game is about building human enclosures and managing humans. So we spoke earlier about how the focus was more on rides, and we wanted to build away from that. So decided to go right from the outset of kind of putting the focus front and center on the humans. And then we're right into the looking at the humans' happiness and trying to solve for hunger at the outset. So again, really hasn't been talk of anything outside of the park other than building an enclosure for your human. The other thing that was a great idea from the team is rather than starting a human with all of the different amenities they might want from their actual habitat, is having these Martian amenities, which we can see the food trough here, which are a little more kind of industrial and grim, and this player has to gradually unlock the facilities that would make a human actually happy. So yeah, it's a little bit more sinister.
And just adds that kind of extra step of like, you don't get the good stuff right away, you have to work for it.
Yeah, exactly. There's more of a sense of progression, and also a difficulty ramp in terms of making the human happy, because eventually they'll become unhappy if you only have things that aren't from their habitat. So this is a great way of seeing, like, he likes the walls, he likes the statue, but he doesn't really like the food source there, or the decorations that are kind of outside the enclosure as well. One of the questions we got asked relatively early is why have the utility system in? And it's actually one of the fundamental systems that's been in right from the outset. And the intention for this is not only to add a kind of layer of management on top of the amenities that you have within the park, but they also provide a escape risk for humans. So within the human enclosure, let's just build a observation post. Within the human enclosure, you could have things that need water. You need to run water pipes to them, but those water pipes themselves allow the human to potentially dig into them and escape and cause chaos within the park. Again, relative to the earlier builds, we can see the trees starting to get a bit more content. We've got various tabs now, and we can go and unlock the Helto. But relative to earlier builds, one of the key differentiating factors of the demo is research actually involves conducting experiments as well. So there's a load of, I think we have 9 kind of grisly and gory experiments, so these twist bots being one of them, where the scientist actually has to go out and experiment on the human in order to unlock the thing in research. I think this was a really big part of making it feel more active, rather than just passively getting research points from your scientists. This makes you feel more involved as a player.
Yeah, I think, and it really like ties it all together as well. To like you're not just sitting there watching the humans, you're actually getting in there, getting involved with them, messing with them, and then you can see the effects of that, like they become unhappy and eventually escape.
I think this is also the first time that we switched the first ride to a human-themed ride rather than the Ferris wheel. Again, not what we ended up on for the latest version of the demo, but allows you to at least kind of feel a little bit more, Mars Attacks-like than just a Ferris wheel in a park. So what was new in this version is every enclosure starts with these different types of Martian amenities, and you can see this kind of paid system where you unlock the human ones, but it'll cost you. So if you wanted to unlock everything, then you'd quickly burn through your money and not have money to actually have different enclosures and rides and things like that. So you have to make that trade-off between what would you like to unlock to make the humans happy, and also what can you afford in the long term as well.
I think the art guys had a lot of fun with the kind of the basic amenities, the trinket fountain and the hamster wheel. Just making them as grim as possible, I think, was a lot of fun.
Yeah. It's funny, we have quite a lot of meetings about how do we really make a human suffer, It's like not something that I expected to be doing with my work day.
Was this the first time security guards were actually in, or were they in the last version as well?
Can't remember.
Are they functional in this version?
It's a good question. Yeah. I think in this version they will actually attack a human if they try and escape. There were pretty limited options previously in terms of what you could do if a human escaped. You were kind of screwed. So this is the first, I think, where you could actually have some security guards who stop them, destroying the entire park. Build a janitor station. So this is another relatively new feature, is these stations for staff. So the idea here, and I don't think we've completely nailed it yet, but you could essentially have a janitor who wanders all the way across the park cleaning up stuff, and with no real way of setting different regions for them to manage. So the idea with the janitor station is you can just assign them to the station like that, and then the janitor will kind of patrol around that station, so you can just have them dotted around the park, and that's how you ensure a good spread of your staff. One of the key things that was different in this build relative to the others is we decided to split out research points into 3 different distinct types, and the reason for that was to also build around the experiment types. So if you've got I think science, power, and water points, if you've got a scientific observation post, then you can conduct those types of experiments on the humans. But if you want to unlock different types of experiments which unlock the different types of points, you have to run different types of experiments on the humans. So now in the research panel, you actually pick where you want to run the experiment or the research, and then it will run the experiment in that enclosure and potentially upset those humans, versus previous ones where it's all kind of much more passive and less control for the player.
But in this one, it still has research points generate passively, and they let you do experiments.
Maybe let's explore the menus a little bit in the demo. So guests, we have a breakdown of thoughts and how they're feeling. You can kind of zip to any guest and kind of break them down in more detail. What's the staff panel? This is also the first version where we had a full breakdown of staff. So again, you can zoom to any staff member, and if you want to fire them or reassign them or things like that. And humans, actually, the breakdown is here as well. So again, this is the first time that we're seeing these kind of menus where you can see the overall kind of happiness at a glance, which makes managing all your different humans and your staff much easier. And this is another kind of big feature that we added for this version of the game is human traps. So you can research here, human traps, and these are essentially we'll try different experiments over here. Yeah, out of the experimental animations, we've got loads of them now in by this point in this build. So it really kind of brings the humans to life. So human traps, yeah. So the other element is the Martians who are at the windows viewing the humans will passively get culture or excitement. So it will fill their need for culture or excitement, but at the moment there's really nothing exciting going on. And things that are exciting to Martians are usually painful for humans. So experiments, for example, will bump up the excitement, but if you're not running experiments in the enclosures, we wanted a way where you could entertain your guests without having to kind of arbitrarily run experiments for things you didn't necessarily want to unlock. So if I go into facilities here, we can put in a human trap. So these are essentially amenities for the human that that will service a human's need. So in this case, it is water, but also provide an entertaining show for the guests here.
Yeah, I think now there's actually lots of options like that where you can really choose to push your humans to the limit if you want to.
Exactly, yeah. It's about getting that balance of having them happy enough that they can withstand experiments and torture and things like that, while also entertaining your guests and kind of keeping them on their toes. Yeah, there's a load of custom animations that go into these, so it makes it really fun to work on. Again, having meetings where you're discussing how best to torture humans, that never really gets old. So I think this was one of the big areas that we wanted to focus on for this build, which was leaning into the experimentation, the kind of torture of humans for the entertainment of guests. So maybe it's a good time to move on to the latest version of the demo, which again has a lot of significant changes to the base of the game. Alright, so skipping ahead, we're now at the most recent version of the demo. So I'm going to run through some of the major changes versus the older builds, and yeah, what you can look forward to playing it live on Steam. Well, now, by the time this video is out. Alright, so this is the first big difference in this version of the game, in that acquisitions are no longer just a straightforward grab a human, place them in an enclosure. You actually have to send out expeditions to Earth, and we'll see in a minute that you get different choices, but for the tutorial we've just got the one, where you get different items of decor and different humans as well. Alright, so the expedition is now returned, and we can select a human. So rather than, again, just dropping them into the enclosure, you now have an inventory of available decor and humans. So you can view your human and place them in the enclosure, or click this button here if you don't want the human, you only have limited space and either probe and return them to Earth and get some science points for it, or dissect for specimens, which we're going to get to in a second as well. And relative to the earlier builds, the Martian decor is now the only thing that's available because we've only got a few bits from our expedition. And if we want to collect more human amenities, decorations, and things like that, then we're going to need to send out more trips to Earth to go and collect those things, and we can only build a certain number of them. Now, another big element is gates. So this is the first time we actually got gates working, so the human can't go out from the gate, but staff members can enter. And alongside that, we also developed capacity. So this food trough has a set amount that it can hold, and when that starts getting low, you're going to need a Martian to come and fill it up. So this is what the porters are for, which are a new staff type. I'm actually going to ignore the tutorial arrow and also show that we finally got the quick hiring ability, so we can skip straight to hiring porters from the decor menu. And the other thing that you'll notice is they have traits. So you can kind of scroll through, this one's not working at the moment, but scroll through the different staff members, and they will be priced differently depending on whether they have positive or negative traits. So this one's got double the signing fee, for example. This one has increasing the probability of bonuses in expeditions, so maybe we'll try him. So this time we've completely overhauled the user interface and really put experiments front and center, and also flipped how experiments work. So now you conduct experiments in order to get research points, and then spend those research points in the relevant tree. So let's start the experiment as before.
I think a lot of like the development has been to kind of turn the systems for like, you know, a functional park builder into something that actually makes you feel like a Martian when you're playing it.
Yeah, absolutely. So it took so long to develop the base functionality of building a park, you know, having a park builder, that it's only really once we had those fundamentals in place that we can start looking at, okay, how do we really differentiate it and make it something unique? Okay, so skipping ahead, we're going to just have a look at the another big feature that's added to this version, which really differentiates it from, I think, a lot of kind of Zoo Tycoon type games, in that you can start breaking apart your humans and using them to construct different things within the park. The human. So this human, we can view them and place them in the park, or if we don't want them, which is the case here, then we've got two options. So returning to Earth just gets you a few research points, or you can dissect for specimens and essentially kill them in order to collect their body parts. So we're going to do that now, and probably for a few of these humans as well. So we'll occasionally vomit spontaneously. Okay, he can go. Yeah, let's fabricate the Alto Skeleton. So if we go into the workshop, then we've got a series of different things that we can build, ranging from relatively basic rides all the way up until, you know, more extreme stuff at the bottom here. So I think we can maybe do the Helto. So we've actually made that from pieces of human rather than just unlocking it within the research tree. So that's probably a good place to cut it. This is a really quick look of where we've been going with Mars Attracts and the various stages of development. As you can see, your feedback has a massive impact on the roadmap. So please let us know what you think of the current demo, and we're very open to suggestions. You can drop a comment through the in-game feedback form, or chat to us on Discord, or even on YouTube. Wherever you find us, we listen to everything. We do read everything, so please get in touch, and we would be delighted to hear what you think.